BBC News by Hanan Razak, 10th of August 2023. Investigating the spiritual healers sexually abusing women. Hidden world of sex abuse and exploitation by men working as spiritual healers has been uncovered by BBC Arabic. Spiritual healing, also known as Quranic healing, is a popular practice in the Arabia and Muslim world. It is mostly women who visit healers, believing that they can solve problems and cure illnesses by expelling evil spirits known as jinn. Testimonies gathered by BBC from 85 women over a period of more than a year named 65 so-called healers in Morocco and Sudan, two countries where such practices are particularly popular, with accusations ranging from harassment to rape. The reporters spent months speaking to NGOs, courts, lawyers, and women, gathering and verifying stories of abuse. An undercover reporter who underwent treatment with one such healer for our investigation was herself inappropriately touched before fleeing the scene. Dalal, not her real name, sought treatment for depression from a spiritual healer in a town near Casablanca a few years ago when she was in her mid-20s. She says the healer told her the depression was caused by a jinn lover who had possessed her. At a one-to-one session, he asked her to smell a scent he said was musk, but which she now believes to have been some kind of drug because she lost consciousness. Dal, who had never had any sexual experience before, says she woke up to find her underwear had been removed and realized she had been raped. She says she began screaming at the Quranic healer, asking him what he had done to her. I said, "Shame on you. Why did you do this to me?" He said, "To make the jinn leave your body." She says she didn't tell anyone what had happened as she was so ashamed and was sure she would be blamed. When she discovered a few weeks later that she was pregnant, she was terrified. She even thought about taking her own life. When she told the healer about the pregnancy, he replied that the jinn must have impregnated her. Dalal says she was so traumatized by her experience that when her baby was born, she refused to look at her, hold her, or even give her a name, and gave her up for adoption. She told us that if her family found out what had happened to her, they would kill her. Many of the women we spoke to said they feared they themselves would be blamed if they reported their abuse, and therefore very few had told their families, let alone the police. Some said they also worried that reporting what had happened might provoke the jinn to take revenge on them. In Sudan, a woman named Sorsan told us that when her husband left the family home to live with a second wife, as is his right under Sharia law, that is Islamic law, she found herself destitute and approached a healer for help. She said he hoped he would give her some kind of medicine for her husband which would make him treat her better, but she was not expecting his suggested treatment. He said he would have sex with me and use the resulting body fluids to concoct a potion I should feed to my husband. His recommendations suggested she was fearless. She said, he was confident I would not report him to the police or the courts or even my husband. Tosan says she left the session immediately and never returned. She did not report his behavior. 3 of the 50 women we spoke to in Sudan about exploitation or abuse named the same religious leader, Sheikh Ibrahim. One of the women who we are not naming said he manipulated her into having sex with him. Another, Alfab, told us she had to push him off her when he asked to have sex with her. She said she felt powerless. People don't accept that sheikhs say and do these things. They don't believe it. How can I find weaknesses? No one saw me in the room with her. An undercover journalist working with our team agreed to visit Sheikh Ibrahim in a bid to collect more evidence. The reporter, who we are calling Riam, posed as a client suffering from infertility. Sheikh Ibrahim said he would say a prayer for her and prepared a bottle of healing water, known as Ma Haya, for her to take home and drink. Rim says he then moved to sit extremely close to her and put his hand on her stomach. When she asked him to take his hand away, she says he simply moved it down her body, over her clothes, so her genitals. She ran from the room. I was really shaken by him, she told us afterwards. He had a worrying look about him. The BBC questioned Sheikh Ibrahim about what had happened in Turan. He denied that he sexually harassed or assaulted women seeking his help and abruptly ended that interview. One woman who is offering an alternative to those who would like spiritual healing without the risk of exploitation is Sheikha Fatima, based near Khartoum. She has opened a female-only healing center. For 30 years, this had been one of the few places where women can experience healing from other women. Many women told us that they believe the sheikh is extracting the devil by touching them. They thought it was part of the treatment, she says. It's shocking what you hear from these women. Political authorities were approached in Morocco and Sudan with the evidence. In Sudan, Dr. Ala Abu Zaid, head of the Family and Society Department at the Ministry of Islamic Affairs, was initially reluctant to believe that so many women had reported experiences of abuse to us. But he did admit that the lack of regulation in spiritual healing meant that it was causing chaos and that the role was being used as a profession for those who had no job. He told the BBC that he had explored its regulation in the past, but that the country's political instability meant it was not currently a priority. In Morocco, Minister of Islamic Affairs Ahmed Taufik said he did not believe there was a need for any separate legislation regarding spiritual healers. It is hard to intervene legally in these matters. The solution lies in religious education and preaching, he told us. Despite all the evidence we had gathered, Moroccan and Sudanese authorities are reluctant to take action. So the burden remains on women to speak up against those hiding behind a healing profession. What are your thoughts about this? Kindly leave your comments. Thank you.